Parents of Reddit, what lessons have to try to teach your kids that completely backfired? One of my 5-year-old twins was still having occasional accidents because she would get so caught up in playing/doing something else that she just wouldn't go and would pee her pants. To combat this, we would give her a special prize of some variety when she wouldn't have an accident. This, in turn, caused her twin sister to start having accidents so she could get prizes for not having accidents, even though she was fine on this front beforehand. We had to rethink our methods. Read a book that suggested you ask your kid what an appropriate punishment for misbehaving would be and then carry it out. 6-year-old son pinched his brother or something, so we asked what an appropriate punishment would be. He said pluck out my eyeballs and throw me over a cliff. We didn't follow through and stopped reading parenting books. He called your bluff. He owns you now. You should followed through. For his own good. My kids were begging for a pet. I don't want to take care of a pet, and I told them that they don't clean up after themselves without me hassling them, so why would they clean up after a pet without me hassling them? Told them if they could keep their room clean for 6 months without me telling them, they could get a pet. Youngest child proceeds to clean room, then move clothes and a sleeping bag into the hallway and lock his door, so his room can't get dirty as he sleeps in the hallway. Taught my now 16-year-old to always compliment people who insulted you. We were in a Burlington coat factory in Michigan when my mother was shopping for a bathing suit to take to Florida. There were few to choose from, so she was complaining. My kid was 4. A woman trying on pants and said something rude to my mom, who was asking my opinion, and my daughter caught on that my mother was agitated. She squeezed out behind me and told the woman, "Your teeth are such a pretty yellow." My parents taught me to call 911 when I saw somebody doing something illegal. I called the cops on the Wiggles movie I was watching when I was 5 because a clown stole a cake. Luckily the 911 operator realized I was young. My story didn't make sense because it was a kids movie. Asked to talk to my mom before sending out cops. When I was 11 I once called the FBI because I felt I had information on a serial killer. I didn't. I just thought I did. When the FBI answered I got spooked and hung up. The FBI called back. Keep in mind it's 2 AM in the morning and my mom answered the phone. "Hello, this Special Agent Kim with the FBI and I believe your son just called us." That's not a call you want from the FBI at 2 AM about your 11 years old son who last you saw was in his room going to sleep several hours ago. I sat in my room waiting for my parents to call for me. They did. They were not pleased that I had called the FBI without speaking to them first. Oh shit, they were the serial killers. My dad tried to implement the whole "you must eat all the food on your plate" in our house during meals. My mom was never a fan of that lesson, but my dad was stubborn, so she just let it go. Well, one day my sibling had 2 to 3 bites of food left on their plate and was very clear that they were absolutely full and couldn't eat another bite. Dad wasn't having it and insisted they could not leave the table until all the food on their plate was gone. My sibling realized they weren't going to convince our dad that they were too full and finished the last few bites and then proceeded to vomit on the table and our dad. He stopped enforcing the rule after that. Not a parent, but as a child I noticed my sister was writing her name on the walls when she was drawing on them with crayon. Taking on the role of helpful big sister, I informed her if she was going to graffiti things she shouldn't write her name and give herself away. A few weeks later, she was carving patterns into the wooden desk in the study and carved my name into it instead. I remember in 3rd grade getting in trouble for putting graffiti on the school wall. The artist had signed it with my first name, which is a fairly common name. I was both outraged at the false accusation and offended that they thought I was that stupid. Saw a clip on local news about a toddler saving her mom's life by calling 911 when she collapsed. Figured it was a good idea to teach my toddler 911. Had 2 cops at my door 5 minutes later. When my son was about 3 or 4 he started to ask about how babies are born. I sat him down and gave him a very simple, age-appropriate explanation. He just looked at me, shook his head, and just said no. Very calmly, "Buttoner, I can't believe you think that's how it works" tone of voice, like I'd told him fake news. I was prepared for difficult questions and even prepared for the fact that he might ask me things that even I didn't know, but I was completely unprepared for him to just simply not believe me when I told him the truth. I just sat there not knowing what to do while he went back to playing Lego. When my brother was a kid, my dad and him stopped for a bathroom break on a road trip, and in the bathroom was a condom dispenser. My dad raised us on the idea of constantly lying to us, so we would question what we were told. So when my brother asked what condoms were and what they were for, my dad told him the truth and explained that they're balloons that go on your penis so you don't get a girl pregnant. My brother stared at him in disgust and replied, "Why are you always lying to me, Dad?" When I was about 2 years old, my family was at a game in Angels Stadium. My mother went to the restroom and left me and my siblings with my dad. While he was busy watching, I wandered off. When they eventually found me, I was halfway around the stadium. A crowd had gathered to watch as a police officer held me out at arm's length while I screamed, "Call the police. This man is not my daddy," over and over again. My parents had taught me stranger danger, but forgot to teach me what police look like. Not a parent, but I remember when I was 17, my parents thought I was lying about where I was when I was going out, like I wanted to extend my curfew or something. Backstory: I'm from a really small town with really not a whole lot for teenagers to do. So my friends and I like to hang out at the Waffle House by this bar every Friday/Saturday night. It never failed. Like 3 or 4 drunk people would get arrested, and my friends and I like to watch. It was 10/10ths entertainment. So one night, shit was going down one night at this particular Waffle House. So I called my parents and asked them if I could extend my curfew. I told them why, and they didn't believe me, so they called the Waffle House where I was and asked for me. When the waitress, who knew me well because I was there a lot, handed me the phone, my mom was like, "Oh, you really are at the Waffle House." I think that was the first time my mom realized that I was a loser. Needless to say, I got my curfew extension. Not a parent, but I work in a school. At my school we have a lot of kids with learning disabilities, more than in your average school, as we have a special program for it and get special funding. So one of the first lessons of the school year is everybody needs different things to learn. And if somebody is getting something different from you, it's because that's what they need to learn at school. You know, a kid-friendly way of explaining accommodations. Now, the usual accommodations we offer are special chairs/wiggle seats, extra breaks during the day, and extended testing time and tests taken in a quiet room. One kid, however, has decided to take the "everyone learns differently" lesson to heart and now talks in a fake British accent. "I live in America BTW all day," because it helps him learn. Then all of the other kids started talking in fake accents. "Miss Us, I require a crumpet and a spot of tea to continue my progress in education. Good day." Nanny, not a parent, 2 years old, was refusing to wear her hat. It was hot. I told her if she didn't put her hat on she would have to wait in the car. She started walking away from me. "Where are you going? Car." Taught my young toddler son how to go upstairs. I did not realize that going downstairs is in fact a completely different and far more dangerous skill set. Lucky for us, the kid seems to have finally grasped the finer points of head protection. Now I'm picturing a toddler throwing himself down the stairs with his arms wrapped around his head. It's more like this. Scooches down 1 step safely. Scooches down the 2nd step safely. So pleased with his progress, he happily steps forward and tumbles head first down the next 15 steps. Raw instinct kicks in, and he tucks and rolls until he reaches the hard stop at the bottom and balls in that heartbreaking sort of way for 10 minutes straight. When my daughter was young, I was trying to teach her the value of money and decided to start giving her an allowance. She had a few tasks to do around the house, and afterwards on the weekends, before we would go out, I'd give her $5. I explained that because she helped out and did her chores, she had earned money to spend on whatever she wanted. She happily accepted and stashed her money in her room. I thought nothing of it. Later that evening, before I tucked her in to bed after reading to her, she goes to her money jar, pulls out $2 and hands it to me and explains that it's for being a good daddy. Not me, but my dad teaching the nephew. He hated smiling, so in pictures my dad would tell him to say whiskey. When he tried cheese it wasn't the same. Anyway, at school the principal was taking a picture of the class and tells everyone to say cheese. My nephew very loudly says whiskey. My uncle would say macaroni and to get his son to answer cheese. Much safer than whiskey.